Let's talk about cryptids. Welcome to Weary Lore and welcome to my Cryptids of America series. In this series, I will be introducing you to one cryptid from each state in America, giving you a short explanation of their history and story, and then giving my own opinion on the cryptid, where I think it came from, and what I think it could be. Now, I am aiming to not do well-known cryptids. I want to learn about new cryptids and pass that knowledge on to you. I won't be talking about Sasquatch or the abominable snowman or how I think they're the same thing. I won't be talking about the Wendigo or El Chupacabra. We all know about those cryptids. Let's learn about some new ones. In this series, I will be doing 5 states in each episode, with a total of 10 episodes. Let's get into it. Welcome to episode 6 of Cryptids of America. Today we will be exploring cryptids from Montana, Nebraska, Nevada, New Hampshire, and New Jersey. Montana. Mountains, cows, and a lot of real estate. And I expected a lot of cryptids in the United States' 4th largest state. I actually didn't find all that many. Yes, Montana does have cryptids, and some interesting ones, but I ran into the problem of them being too popular again, or there just not being enough information about them, or the source being wrong and the cryptid not being a native of Montana. Montana has the classics, Bigfoot, Wendigo, Skinwalkers. Yes, those are 2 different cryptids. It even has its own version of the Loch Ness Monster, the Flathead Lake Monster, Flossie. However, the most popular cryptid in Montana might just be the Shunkaworakan. The story of this cryptid is very interesting. Keep an eye out for a future video on it. The water babies really caught my attention as well, but they're more suited for a short than a full entry here. Today, we will be learning about the little people of the Pryor Mountains. They are also known as the Narumbi or Awakukule. The little people of the Pryor Mountains inhabit, obviously, the Pryor Mountains. The little people are described a couple different ways. The people of the Crow tribe describe them as being about 1.5 feet tall, with large heads, pointy teeth, and a small pot belly. They are also described as about 3 feet tall, with long hair and large eyes. They are said to be very agile and intelligent. The little people are mostly harmless, usually, but if they are mistreated, they can become quite violent. They are known to steal children, food, medicine, and even tobacco. They are unnaturally strong for their size and have the ability to destroy property and even take full-grown animals. But if you stay on their good side, they will impart spiritual wisdom to you and become a type of guide for you. Personally, I'll stick to the good side. Narrowing down a first sighting of the little people isn't possible. They have been part of the Crow mythology since the Native American tribe was discovered. A popular story attributed to the little people is of Chief Red Plume. Chief Red Plume lived between 1715 and 1836. He stated that, as a child, when he was known as just Red Plume, he went on a pilgrimage to the little people. Once there, he was told that he would one day lead the Crow tribe as a great leader. When he returned to his tribe, he was ridiculed and told that he would never be a leader, much less a great one. However, he won almost every battle he was in, and the prophecy of the little people came true. The little people have continued to be an important part of Native American life in Montana, and they're not just a myth. In the 1930s, a supposed mummy of a little person was found. Now, this mummy was found in Wyoming, but it's believed to be the same creature. To this day, offerings are still left for the little people. They are still encountered while hunting, or when someone gets lost in the mountains. Real or not, they're not going anywhere. What are my thoughts? First and foremost, let's get this out of the way. Little people, the not mythological type, do exist. I don't know what the politically correct term is now, but there are people with genetic conditions that make them smaller. They can lead completely normal lives. They're just small. Are they supernatural? No. Do they dwell in the mountains, seemingly appearing and disappearing, trading offerings for stopping people from going down the wrong path, or taking out vengeance on those that disrespected them? Maybe. There's something called uncontacted peoples. These are indigenous people who live in voluntary isolation from the rest of the world. They are normally very primitive. They don't have technology, they don't have the same social skills, and they can be outright violent to outsiders. Could there be an uncontacted tribe of little people in the Pryor Mountains? Maybe. The Crow would know better than we would. Beyond that, Native American myths and legends are something I hold in high regard. If they say something is there, something is there. We just may never know what it is. Are you from Montana? Have you had an encounter with the little people of Pryor Mountains? Let me know. I'll admit it. All I knew about Nebraska was corn. So I looked up what Nebraska was known for to see what else I could talk about, and I was told corn. But once again, I did not find a single cryptid in a cornfield. Without a doubt, the most popular cryptid of Nebraska has to be the alkali lake monster. It's the first one that came up in the book, the first one that came up on Google, and it's on nearly every cryptid list that I found. It was surprising to see Bigfoot overshadowed by something else, but the big guy was overshadowed in Nebraska. I was given pause by one cryptid in Nebraska, the phantom kangaroo. It wasn't just that there are phantom kangaroos, it's that, as it says here, phantom kangaroos have been seen worldwide in areas without native populations since the 1830s. Worldwide. I debated reporting on it, but, well, I think I found something better. Allow me to introduce you to the Flying Man of Falls City, also known as the Flying Monstrosity in Falls City and the Falls City Metal-Winged Demon. The Flying Man of Falls City is a native of Falls City, Nebraska. This cryptid is described as a creature that appears to have 15-foot metal wings with multicolored lights on the underside of them that are attached to the cryptid's body via a harness of some sort. There is also a control panel in the middle of the creature's chest that the monster manipulates while flying. This creature is 9 feet tall, has brown skin, the color and texture of leather, and large, watery eyes. But its face is what's most frightening. It looks as if it came straight from the depths of hell itself. The Flying Man was first seen in 1956 by a man named John Hanks, not his real name, who gave the description to an investigator by the name of Ken Gerhardt. Ken was an expert on flying humanoid encounters. How do you become an expert in that? He did not have an answer for this sighting, saying that it was like something straight out of the works of H.P. Lovecraft. Now, I can put up with a lot, but let's not sully the name of H.P. Lovecraft. His creatures have much more depth and are a lot more impactful than a flying demon. No offense. However, this was not even a one-off event. It wasn't even the first. In 1948, it was reported in Washington that a woman by the name of Bernice Zakowski spotted a man flying above her home on giant, unmoving metal wings. In modern day, people still report forms flying through the sky, as if magically. These are sometimes explained away by jetpacks, but what if they're the same creature that was spotted in the 40s and the 50s? What are my thoughts? Good. I held it together through that. Something about this one is very funny to me. Maybe it's the image where it looks like the cryptid is screaming. Or the very idea that a demon would be using light-up wings to soar through the sky. I don't know. I don't truly have an answer for this, at least not one that I think would have worked in the 40s and 50s. There are hang gliders, which would look rather strange if you weren't prepared for them. There's even LED hang gliders, the image you've seen this entire time. Did LED hang gliders exist in the 50s? No. LEDs were invented in 1962. But did hang gliders exist? Yes. They were invented in the 1810s. Imagine this. Just throwing yourself off a building in the 1800s and believing that this newfangled flying thing was going to keep you from a hard landing. I wouldn't have had the cojones to do it. But, back on subject, a hang glider is the only possible explanation that I could have, and it's very lacking. Was there a very unfortunate looking person in the 1950s who invented something way ahead of their times, and it just never saw the light of day? Maybe. Or this could just be a demon flying through the sky on metal wings. Or an alien. Are you from Nebraska? Have you ever had an encounter with a flying man of Fall City? Let me know. Nevada, known for harsh deserts, Area 51, and aliens. My feelings on aliens, I don't like them. Like zombies, they're not my favorite cryptid, as interesting as some interpretations of them can be. Nevada does have a number of other cryptids, though aliens are probably the most popular. As with most states, it has its own version of the Loch Ness Monster, Tahoe Tessie, and its own version of Bigfoot, the Burbage Monster. I was also extremely confused on why it was called the Silver State. It makes sense now, especially with the cryptid I'm about to report on. In short, silver mining was extremely important to the settlement of the state. Directly related to that silver mining, say hello to the hellhounds of El Dorado Canyon. Full stop. Trigger warning for animal cruelty. If you wish to skip this section, go to this timestamp. Okay, we good? The hellhounds of El Dorado Canyon are described as ghostly dogs with fur as black as the deepest night, and eyes shining crimson like flames. Their barks were described as sounding like the cries of lost souls. Now, here's the bad part. The hellhounds of El Dorado Canyon were not born this way. They were created. When miners came to mine the silver, they often brought dogs with them. Vicious, territorial dogs that they would chain at the entrance of the mine to protect them. But when the mine ran dry, they no longer had use for the dogs, and they would either leave them there, chained up and unable to fend for themselves, or put them out of their misery in a swift and permanent way. Those dogs protect the mines and their treasures to this day, but unlike other hellhounds, they don't have a three-tiered curse. One sighting, one visit, and you are doomed. They will pursue you and do to you what was done to them. The first sighting of a hellhound of El Dorado Canyon that I could find was reported to be in 1885 when a prospector by the name of Samuel Braddock returned to the mines in El Dorado Canyon in search of treasure. He was warned about the hellhounds, but ignored the warnings, seeing them as nothing but superstitions. He found the treasure. That's when everything went to hell. He barely made it out of the mines alive, running back to the town, treasure in hand, and hellhounds hot on his heels. The locals begged him to return the treasure, warned him of what could happen, but he refused, and eventually he was caught, disappearing in a bright light with the hellhounds, never to be seen again. Another encounter of the hellhounds was submitted by two brothers with no date. They stated that they went to the mines to investigate the mystery, but didn't expect to find anything. They did find an old chain and what appeared to be animal bones, but brushed it off until later that night, when they heard the sounds of a large dog nearby, and witnessed the chain at the opening of the mine lift up on its own. They were also pursued, as fast as possible away from the hellhounds to the safety of their car. What are my thoughts? This story made me very sad. I know that not everyone is an animal lover like me. I know that some people see them as, well, nothing but animals. But the cruelty displayed here, it's a prime way for malevolent spirits to be created, What can I say? I believe that there are some things like this out there. Could there be other explanations? Yes. First off, the story of Samuel Braddock was told in a very fiction way. It wasn't a simple retelling of events, it was an expertly crafted story. Does that mean that it's not true? No, but it makes me question its validity. Nevada also does have a population of wild dogs, known as dhole. Dhole are illegal to own as pets and only exist as feral dogs in the area. Nevada also has a native population of coyotes. Coyotes are also feral and known for being dangerous. Now, are either of these supernatural? No. But could they be mistaken for a hellhound of sorts if encountered on a dark, cold night at a creepy abandoned mine? Yeah. Are you from Nevada? Have you ever had an encounter with the hellhounds of El Dorado Valley? Let me know. Researching cryptids in New Hampshire was like finding a needle in a haystack. If the haystack was a pile of wood devils hiding every other cryptid in the area. The wood devil is undoubtedly New Hampshire's most popular cryptid. It's their version of Bigfoot, though it's said to be a slimmer, swifter version of Bigfoot with a hide-behind behaviors. That's all you really need to know. New Hampshire might have their own version of the Loch Ness Monster, but there's no official description or imagery that I could find for the Dublin Lake Monster, which seems to be New Hampshire's second most popular cryptid. I looked into a couple more cryptids for this area, but I don't feel comfortable reporting on real people, legitimately real people, who have been given cryptid status. I found 3 of these people in New Hampshire, and that's just not my cup of tea. I settled on the Dairy Fairy. Finding a full description of the Dairy Fairy was difficult, and once I did, I was highly confused on why it was called a fairy. But let's see what you think. The Dairy Fairy is described as a little green critter that stands about 2 feet tall. Its green skin is wrinkled like an elephant's. Its head is dome-shaped and it has ears that hang down like those of a basset hound. It doesn't have regular eyes. Instead, it has holes where its eyes should be, and they are covered with a clear film like a reptile's. It has short little legs and arms with stubby hands, and its feet have no toes. Fairy. That's just not how I would describe a fairy. There were no reports of the Dairy Fairy attacking, it just stared. And when it was attacked, screeched so loudly that the person ran in fear. The first and only sighting of the Dairy Fairy that I can find occurred on December 15th of 1956. It was said that an unnamed man was out in the woods of Derry on this date in order to cut down Christmas trees. When he was doing his work, he looked up and saw the Dairy Fairy. He had plenty of time to get a good look, as it was stated he stared at the cryptid for 20 minutes without moving. In those 20 minutes, the cryptid just stared back at him. Personally, a quick glance is all it would take from me. I would just go, let the creepy little creature have the woods. I've seen this horror movie. However, after the 20 minutes, this man decided that no one would believe him, so he needed to catch the Dairy Fairy in order to have hard evidence. So he jumped it. It was then that the Dairy Fairy screamed so loudly that the man was terrified and ran away. As far as my research shows, this cryptid has never been seen again. What are my thoughts? For as much as I say that I will not report on aliens, these cryptids are starting to look like aliens. Like I said, I don't see the fairy resemblance. In the story, there were allusions to this cryptid being related to another cryptid in Scotland. But my research didn't find anything. Scotland has fairies, but none that look like the Dairy Fairy. I don't have a scientific explanation. I don't have an animal that I can connect with a disorder or a disease that could explain the looks of this cryptid. Maybe it really is a type of fairy. Maybe it's a goblin. Maybe it's a fever dream that wafted from the bottom of an empty bourbon bottle. we will most likely never know. There was only the one sighting, and the person who supposedly sighted the creature is, most likely, no longer alive. So we can't even ask if it was a hoax. Sorry, y'all. I don't have an explanation for this one. Are you from New Hampshire? Have you ever had an encounter with the dairy fairy? Let me know. You can't talk about New Jersey without talking about its population density. New Jersey has a lot of people, and along with a lot of people comes a lot of stories. I also found that New Jersey has an entire Wikipedia page dedicated to its legends. That I did not expect. It made choosing one to report on all the more difficult. It's no surprise that the Jersey Devil is New Jersey's most popular cryptid. This cryptid has had books written about it, movies made about it. It's a cultural phenomenon. But don't count New Jersey out. It does have its own version of Bigfoot, Big Red Eye. It also has a few different sea serpents, but none of them seem to be direct versions of the Loch Ness Monster. New Jersey also has multiple man-beast hybrids, one of which I couldn't research without giggling. Mantis man? Really? So I thought it was best I didn't try to report on that one. It came down to two. I waffled between a bloodthirsty bunny and an ethereal white stag. And I chose the bloodthirsty bunny. It wasn't an easy decision. But as I just introduced you to the Snowfish last episode, I didn't want to introduce you to another cryptid that was so closely related today. The official name for the bunny is the spook rabbit. The spook rabbit is described as a normal rabbit, mostly. When you see it, it's not really possible to tell it's a spook rabbit until you either try to catch it or hunt it. It's said that bullets bounce off of a spook rabbit. Either that or go straight through it, like it doesn't even exist. The spook rabbit is said to be extremely intelligent, and if you have done it or one of its kind wrong, it will remember, and it will attack you. It's called bloodthirsty for a reason. I didn't find any reports of deaths from the spook rabbit, but there were plenty of injuries reported to both humans and animals. The first sighting of the spook rabbit was reported in 1891. The rabbits themselves were not sighted, but their handiwork was. A group of hunters were made aware of their existence when their dogs came back from the woods with scratches on their faces and bodies. After the phenomenon of the spook rabbit was reported, a hunting columnist from New York came out to Harmony Township, where the attack had happened, to investigate for himself. It's said that he hunted for more than an hour, but was unable to hit a single target. It was as if his bullets were hitting something with no substance at all. I couldn't find any modern-day sightings, but it is alleged that the spooky rabbits still roam the woods in Harmony Township and hunt in packs. Hunters are given warnings to be careful what they shoot at, lest they're hunted back. What are my thoughts? All that really came to mind was Monty Python, so I had to shake that out of my brain to try to seriously think about hyper-intelligent bloodthirsty rabbits. I have to say that I am very much with the hunting columnist here. They're just regular rabbits. Eastern cottontails are native to New Jersey. Surprisingly, they can be violent. Usually they aren't, but during mating season, bucks will bite and scratch and kick other bucks. They could attack other animals as well, but more likely, the injuries were caused by thick underbrush and thorns. The woods are not a friendly, nicely landscaped place. You can get hurt there with no help from a cryptid. As for the reports of bullets bouncing off the animal or passing through it, I can't explain everything. However, stories are always embellished, and that could be what happened here. Are you from New Jersey? Have you ever had an encounter with a spook rabbit? Let me know. I started out this video hesitant, worried that it would take the same toll on me as the last, but thankfully it did not. From learning about supernatural little people to wanting to pet the cutest little bloodthirsty cryptid out there, I really enjoyed my journey through the landscape of weird in this video. As I continue, I see that, in a way, every state is the same, but they are also all completely different. I can't wait to see what the next video holds. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.